Let me set it up. Let me set up. Set it up. There we go. Yeah, man, we'll bring it in. We got new details on the young brother, Karmelo Anthony, fighting for his livelihood, basically fighting for his life. Tragic, tragic incident that led to the death of Austin Metcalf. Condolences to his family. But we go get into it. We really go get into it. Just want to make sure that proper time passed before I could really put some gas to the fire. Please believe. Just want to make sure that I'm being heard. You hear me in the chat, just go ahead and hit the like button. Yeah, we gonna let a little more time pass. All right, let's get into it, man. We got new details on the Karmelo Anthony case. And if you living under a rock, the Karmelo Anthony case is the murder trial from Texas. Karmelo Anthony is a young man that tragically unalived Austin Metcalf during a dispute at a track meet during the rain. Condolences to the family. And the new details on the case is that they found a knife that it was already like open. It was like a switchblade or one of them pocket knives that open up, and it was open, and he stabbed Austin Metcalf and ran, and everyone was pointing in his direction that he was the culprit in the stabbing, and he ran into a coach from another team. And the coach was talking to him and walking with him until the authorities came. That's the case in a nutshell. And the details that was just discovered today, that the prosecutor was touching on the fact that the tent culture in track and field is more like a locker room, and I believe that's setting up to say that that's the reason why the young man that was unalived stepped to Karmelo Anthony about leaving a tent even though it was raining. So the defense, they was cross-examining all the witnesses, and they were simply asking them, did they know that the school that Karmelo Anthony attended was the only school at the track meet without a tent? And I know that it's not anybody's fault but the school, so you can't blame the student. There was no tent for them, and so basically they're going to try to build a case that one side was aggressive because of tent culture, at track meets, instead of being evil or having malice towards Karmelo because he was from another school, and that he invaded sacred ground by being in the tent. And the defense is going to scream that the twins were aggressive and being bullies and didn't have any compassion to allow the young man to stay under the tent. So from what I heard, it was adults there also under the tent that could have de-escalated it and say, just let the young man stay under the tent. And none of this would have happened. One guy wouldn't have lost his life, and one guy won't be fighting for his life through the courts. You could scream murder, you could scream self-defense. Depends on who you like personally, instead of looking at the details. And the jury has been selected. There's no African Americans on the jury. You have Asian Americans, Middle Eastern. So you got 3 Middle Eastern jurors, 3 Asian jurors, and 6 white male jurors. And they struck the 3 African American possible jurors from the case, and 1 African American juror excused herself because she felt like that she would have been biased, that she couldn't convict a young black teen. And the details stemming from there, I came to my own conclusion that if they would have just shared the tent, none of this wouldn't have happened. That gives the discussion on no other school never chilled under a tent from an opposing school, never in history, or was the Metcalf brothers enforcers or acting as enforcers of the sacred ground, quote unquote, with the tent. I think they was being bullies, to be honest, and they didn't want Austin Metcalf. They didn't want Karmelo Anthony there for obvious reasons. And, you could say what reason is what, but I believe that, and that's a lot of what's going on with this case, in my opinion. You got the regular question. Is always an open and shut case when the majority want their side to win. But when the minority want to win, is never open and shut pertaining to them. When you have a certain people go always feel a sympathy for their people, that's just natural. But us being the minority, the cards will always be stacked against, for the simple fact of just familiarity, being comfortable, or just picking someone that looks like them and choosing their side and being sympathetic towards them. You have many reasons why people feel the way they feel against a certain people, but it's always an open and shut situation, which you could tell that one side is going to show favoritism for the other side. Something as little as you're not worthy of sheltering yourself from a rainstorm or from rain during the track meet, regardless if they knew or not that this young high schooler's school didn't have a 10 or not. You can tell in the rhetoric that they're going for first degree murder, and they want to say premeditated because his knife was open. But they go ignore the fact that the deceased was the aggressor. He initiated communication that was verbal. He initiated the physical contact, and he ended up losing his life. If he would have not chose to verbally attack and then physically attack someone that wasn't communicating with them, a lot of things would be different right now. I would be making something else. And we could all say that this didn't deserve, but you could easily say that you don't know how this person was feeling at the moment. Why did he have a knife? You got to ask the knife company. In Texas, they have guns, they have knives. Throughout America, the youth have some type of little knife that they carry. The issue was it escalated fast and adults was present. We're not going to talk about that. If that would have been our community, we would have automatically accepted anybody who wanted to get out the rain, because we would want to be accepted when it is in reverse. So we're quick to open up and extend our house, home, church, business, car. We're more subject to help people when they're trying to get out the rain than other people who have a history of mass violence and all type of laws that's just built for discrimination. But we're not gonna get into that. The key of the whole case is, why did the deceased verbalize and made contact after having a verbal altercation? It could have stopped that verbal. It really could have stopped that verbal. But the deceased chose to make aggressive contact with the defendant. You can't be aggressive and turn into a victim. You can't put a measuring stick on, if I attack you, what you should do to attack me. It's unfair and it's biased to say that this guy was innocent. The deceased was not innocent. Rest his soul. God rest his soul. My condolences to the family. But we have to be real about the situation. This young man didn't have to die. Just like he didn't have to verbal assault as well as physical assault Karmelo. Karmelo defended himself, and the outcome wasn't what the witnesses, who was all under the tent, thought was going to happen. They all thought that they was going to laugh this young man away after punching him in the face or doing whatever they did to him, and he defended himself. My opinion on how he chose to defend himself is not it's not for debate, because you can never tell nobody how and why they should defend themselves. Whenever you defend yourself, you trying to defend yourself. Let's say the track meet rain delay happened in this way. Let's play devil's advocate. let's say that this this guy, Carmelo Anthony, run under the tent, and the team just start cheering or saying they chants. This school is the best. Who. Everybody else is less. Who, or something like that. Instead of being negative and being physical with somebody from the opposing school. Let's say that team just start like turning up for their school because they got the ops and they miss, instead of being negative and being verbal abusive and physical abusive towards Karmelo. Imagine if they just shared the tent and asked him, did he want some water? Imagine if they were to say, hey man, I like how you ran this race. Give me some tips. You could use our tent, it's all good, but give us some tips. Let's try to work, let's try to like unify instead of always separating and finding different reasons to separate. We go ignore all those factors that could have de-escalated that situation very early. All those kids who was witnesses and the adults who was witnesses, they all know that the deceased was a bully. You could look at some of the pictures that he taken. They got the look on their face like they bad. And I'm saying that respectfully from takes one to know one. And that's just my opinion. I didn't want what happened to happen. But when you out here playing those type of games, you can't put a measuring stick on the repercussions and the consequences of the actions that was thought of by the deceased. Or maybe the deceased was trying to put on for the witnesses. Maybe he was trying to get points and punk them, and when he run away in the rain, they make little jokes and they laugh and key is funny, this, that, and the other. You could have did all that, and but you didn't have to put your hands on that young man. You crossed the line when you did that, and you had mothers burying kids tragically. We don't condone the violence, and it's sad that a young man lost his life. That's sad that a twin brother had to lose his twin brother. But deep down, all the people who actually know the young man, ain't no choir boys stepping to people who under a tent, who they feel like don't supposed to be under the tent. The toughest go step, because they know they ready for action, and that's why the action happened. But then you met somebody else who was thinking on some other action, on some reaction, and unfortunately, it was tragic. It didn't have to be like that. A tent could have got shared, and a life could have got saved. But nobody go discuss that factor. That's the factor that led to the altercation. Something natural caused the event for the rain delay. Natural rain delay, something that happens. We not surprised if an inner city school don't have all the fundings that other schools have. I guarantee the parents didn't know that they babies didn't have a tent. We could have handled it a different way. It could have been handled in more sensible or more adult or more humanity way, that the tent could have got shared because it was raining. Like I said before, they could have offered the young man a bottle of water and say, it's raining, but you got to be here. But you go hear our You go hear how we get down as a school. You go hear our school spirit. And they could have went on a whole melody of all they hits far as in they cheers that correlate to that tent in that school because outside is there. It could have been a friendly type of competition. It didn't have to get verbal and then violent. It didn't have to be like that, but it actually happened. So you got to dig deep into your spirit and dig deep into your soul and think the mentality that caused those kids to step like that. It's the culture that you guys are raising. And what I mean you guys, I mean the YT and the YT supporters, the other races that also look down at our race. The people like that gotta get outed by the people who cool and look at things the way it is. Elitism is being exposed every day on the internet. We all see what's going on with the president, and MAGA is pushing the agenda to separate the youth. And they growing all these different supremacists in these think tanks. They got billions of dollars invested into that. So the fact, and I'm gonna go over the facts of the details in the Karmelo Anthony case again. From what my sources tell me, they had the defense cross-examined the witnesses, and they asked all the witnesses, did they know or were they aware that the school that Karmelo Anthony attended had no tent, and that the only reason Karmelo Anthony ran under the tent because of the rain. And Austin Metcalf, God rest his soul, was the aggressor in the altercation. And Karmelo Anthony stabbed him one time and ran. And people were yelling out, all the witnesses under the tent was yelling out that this guy stabbed Austin. And Karmelo Anthony ran to a coach. And the coach was talking to him. And during that conversation, Karmelo Anthony recognized the magnitude of his mistake, and he broke down crying. That's when the police came and arrested him, and that's when all the reports was made about what happened and everything. So you could do your research. You have witnesses that saying that it was the Metcalf kid, the deceased, was the aggressor, and Karmelo Anthony reacted. Some say it was murder, some say it was self-defense. That's why you have a trial. Public opinion is getting split in half by the race. You don't have no white people or non-blacks that's really saying that they could understand that Karmelo Anthony was just trying to get out the rain, and he was a victim that defended himself. That's my opinion. That's what I believe it was. And the brothers wasn't choir boys. It's sad that a twin had to lose his twin, but I hope that he learned from the mistakes of one twin. I really hope that he could change his life and look at the actions that caused the death of his brother. I hope his family could recognize that too. You don't have to step to people. You don't have to put your hands on people because they don't want to do what you say. You're not the boss. You could have handled that Matter of fact, the adults that was under the tent could have handled that. The adults could have just said, look, we go share this tent for the rain purposes and we go let it go. Y'all don't have to be fighting and beefing about who's supposed to be under the tent or not and things of that nature. And also, the prosecutors was trying to state that in track culture, the tent is sanctuary. It's like a locker room setting. But me personally, I never heard that. I never knew that. But if it was a stray dog in the rain, they would have let that dog in that tent, and they would have fed the dog, and they would have put a towel over the dog. They would have did all type of humanitarian things for that dog. But one brother go up under the tent because it's raining. They want to step to him and be aggressive and physical, and ended up tragically taking the L. But that's not how it's supposed to be. I don't condone violence, but I understand that there's always consequences to actions. There's going to be a reaction to an action. There's going to be a cause and effect. There got to be accountability for those type of significant losses. So they go paint the picture to make Karmelo Anthony the bad guy, which they can't find no internet posts of him doing that ratchet stuff. It's none of that. I really believe the young man feared for his life. But I guess I maybe have a bias because he looked like my son. And I can understand my son trying to get out the rain like everybody else. And then I can understand my son trying to defend himself because somebody trying to punk him. And, you know, the weapons and all that stuff, I can't talk for that because I don't preach that. But you can't never say when a person is not feared for their life, because the other side always say it. But you go find the results and the outcome different every time, because the narrative that gets shifted, the narrative that get painted, they gonna always try to put us in a negative light. Even when they can't find nothing negative, they will start telling lies. So that's the details I got for you on that. And y'all like, comment, subscribe, man. I'm gonna be out. Y'all be safe, man. One.